system, which houses what scientists describe as the most accurate clock in Ghana.
To support the operations of the station here, we have a timing system, which is in this building, a very small building. We call it the hydrogen maser.
During the visit, GBC News spoke with some of the scientists who are leading ongoing research aimed at contributing new knowledge to the global scientific community.
I'm currently using Ghana's 32-meter telescope. We have been able to measure a very massive star-forming region within our galaxy. And so we've been able to measure a source by name G962. Okay, and this particular massive star-forming region, we've been able to measure the magnetic field strength. Our work will be published in an international accredited journal very soon.
I'm here in Grau, Ghana Radio Astronomy Observatory, to look at some objects of interest which this telescope here can observe. So these objects include, we have different forms, so it ranges from galaxies to pulsars.
However, the researchers say their work is increasingly being threatened by external activities around the observatory. They point to encroachment on lands reserved for scientific work, as well as the growing presence of unregistered digital signals from electronic gadgets and household appliances. According to the scientists, these signals create what is known as radio frequency interference, making it difficult for the telescope to clearly capture weak signals originating from deep space.
Mobile phones and stuff affects our signal. Our signals are very weak, so if you have more interference from other electronic devices, it blinds our signal. So that's why we want people to be far away from us.
And when it blinds your system, what happens?
So you will not be able to see your signal you want to see. So you point a telescope there, but you don't see your signal.
The manager of the observatory, Dr. Provin Ajuri, says Ghana must take deliberate steps to safeguard the facility if the country is to remain relevant in the global space science community.
And so the scientists over here believe that with the needed support and funding, they will be able to make history for Ghana and Africa. Reporting for GBC News, Gifty Eji, Ghana Radio Astronomy Observatory at Kuntunse here in the Greater Accra region.
In northern Ghana, where climate change is taking a toll on fragile ecosystems, local communities are reviving age-old traditions, preserving sacred forests, and exploring alternative livelihoods to safeguard biodiversity and support the country's REDD+ climate commitments. GBC News' Clara Mlanu journeys to the Savannah Zone, where culture and conservation converge to restore degraded landscapes and bolster climate resilience.
The battle against climate change up north is being waged not just with policies, but with people, culture, and ancestral wisdom. Take Yurugu, a village in the Savlugu municipal area, where a sacred grove has been thriving for 37 years, dubbed Multite, meaning make good things for us. This forest serves as a windbreak, rainfall catalyst, animal sanctuary, and lang for the community. The community's indigenous conservation model is simple, yet effective. Strict rules prohibit cutting trees within the grove, protecting biodiversity and sustaining livelihoods.
7 years back, we began to protect this forest, and there are rules that nobody should cut any plant within this area. Why are we doing this? We have observed that this area, the forest protects our community from windbreak. It also helps in facilitating the rainfall. We also see that when it's hot season or dry season, most of our animals come here to have a fresh air.
The United Nations Environment Programme highlights forests as climate change mitigators, absorbing carbon and storing it in biomass and soils. But when forests are cleared or degraded, they release stored carbon, contributing to greenhouse gas emissions. About 11% of global CO2 emissions stem from deforestation and degradation. In northern Ghana, locals have taken matters into their own hands. An artificial forest created to combat environmental challenges doubles as a sustainable source for wood fuels and charcoal production.
We will be so happy that if we can get assistance to expand this forest and preserve it and protect it, and also get some wild animals inside it so that we can wire it and it will serve as a tourist sector for our community so that it will bring more income to this community.
In Bachadobo, communities are brewing a resilient future through alternative livelihoods. Meet Meirara Bunji Urigisi, part of a 13-women beekeeping group, who credits honey production introduced by Canadian NGO Feed the Children in 2021 with transforming their lives. The women harvest around 2,000 cedis annually from bee sales, funding school essentials and family needs. To them, honey is a lifeline, medicine, food and cultural treasure.
I use the money to get their properties for them. And through the honey, I get to know that honey is something good for human being and human use. If somebody is sick, they can use honey to treat the person when the person is getting heart disease, coughing, for example. When they use the honey to treat the person will be well.
In the Iwawo, Mohammed Kamil Dama of the Global Landscapes Forum, Tamale chapter, highlights the threats of unsustainable land use and chemical-heavy farming. He believes the solution is agroecology. Farmers are now learning composting, natural pest control, and regenerative practices to protect soil health and boost food production.
Because they want to expand or enlarge their farms, they end up cutting down forests or cutting down trees in order to engage in commercial or large-scale agricultural practices. As an organization working with smallholder farmers to let them understand the causes and effects of climate change.
On the continental stage, the African Regional Coordinator of the Global Landscapes Forum, Amos Amanubu, notes that communities are achieving powerful synergies. Sacred forests, farms, and biodiversity are coexisting to drive climate change, food security, and cultural preservation in harmony.
I think initiatives such as Red Plus and so on that really go down to the communities have given us an opportunity, including GLFX program, to demonstrate a proof of concept that if you invest in these local communities, the benefits are huge. And the benefits don't only stop at making profits, the benefits are very transformational. They sustain culture, they sustain local identity, they sustain livelihood.
For civil society groups supporting these communities, indigenous knowledge is the backbone of climate resilience. RAIN's Executive Director, Hadi Tijani, says protecting sacred groves, reviving indigenous seeds, and strengthening traditional practices are empowering communities to adapt to climate shocks while preserving biodiversity and cultural identity. Ghana's Red Plus journey is ahead of many countries, but there's room to grow. Joseph Asante, Red Plus policy expert, highlights the need for policy refreshes and investing in community-led action, especially in climate-vulnerable northern regions.
For instance, the Forest and Wildlife Policy is more than 12 years now. A lot has changed over the period. It needs to be revisited so that we tap into that policies for Red Plus implementation.
With support from the Forestry Commission, EPA, and local assemblies, RAINS is helping communities revive endangered tree species and restore degraded landscapes. For them, climate action is tangible, rooted in land, culture, and collective responsibility. It proves that solutions to climate change aren't new. They lie in letting people and nature thrive together. Clara Mlano, GBC News, Northern Region.
A neurologist and movement disorder specialist at Korle Bu Teaching Hospital, Dr. David Brodier Menz, in an interview with GBC, outlined some early diagnosis, patient and caregiver support, and measures government can take to improve the lives of people living with Parkinson's disease. He is also calling on the government to include Parkinson medication and its diagnosis into the NHIS.
So some people have what we call tremor, so shaking of a part of the body, maybe shaking of the hands, shaking of the lower part of the head or the chin, shaking of the legs. For some people, they get a lot of slowness when they are walking. They are not moving as quickly or as fast as they used to before. We call that type of slow movement bradykinesia, and that is actually one of the key things for diagnosing Parkinson's. Another thing that people may notice is that they start feeling very stiff. Sometimes the stiffness comes with body pains as well. And then last, in the later stages, somebody may have problem with their balancing, and they may have difficulty when they are walking, not falling over. So the sooner we make the diagnosis, the sooner you can start treatment. There unfortunately is no cure, but the treatment helps to reduce the severity of the symptoms that I just mentioned, and then improve quality of life for those people who are affected and living with Parkinson's. I think the numbers we are seeing at the clinics are going up. I wouldn't say it's going up just because it's increasing. There's so many other things that could be responsible for it. One of them would be the fact that awareness is going up, so more people are aware. And when more people are aware, more people will come to the hospitals to get diagnosed. So right from healthcare worker education, that would be the first step. The next step would be to have, like we've talked about, these medications covered, the investigations covered under our insurance system, so that getting tested and getting diagnosed would not make some people have to sell all their cars or sell all their assets to be able to afford the tests.
The management of the University of Ghana has responded to a viral video circulating on social media which appears to show a member of the university's Safety and Security Services Directorate allegedly assaulting a young man. According to preliminary information, the individual involved in the incident is not a student of the university. He was reportedly apprehended by the security officer on suspicion of theft. The University of Ghana, which maintains a strict zero-tolerance policy on violence, has announced that a full-scale investigation into the matter is currently underway. Management emphasizes that its consolidated code of conduct for employees clearly defines acceptable behavior, especially in dealings with the public, and outlines sanctions for misconduct. The university has assured the public that if the officer involved is found guilty, appropriate disciplinary action will be taken in line with the university's regulations and the laws of Ghana following due process. The Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly has announced renewed measures to crack down on littering and indiscriminate waste dumping in Kumasi, beginning Monday, April 13th, with an intensified effort to arrest and prosecute offenders. Anyone caught littering, especially in the central business district of Edum and Kejetia, will be arrested, arraigned before court, fined, or imprisoned.
Details of the initiative were announced at a media briefing in Kumasi by the Metropolitan Chief Executive, Mr. Ofori Ajiman Boedi. The crackdown on littering and indiscriminate waste dumping in Kumasi comes amid a looming waste management crisis as the Oti landfill faces potential shutdown due to equipment breakdown and financial constraints. The initiative by the Assembly, therefore, aims to clear garbage from drains and public spaces, targeting a reduction in the approximately 2,000 tons of solid waste generated daily in the city of Kumasi. Similar campaigns in 2018 and 2021 resulted in the prosecution of dozens of people, with authorities aiming to deter littering and dumping. As part of the remedial measures in sustainable waste management in Kumasi, the Assembly is positioning 1,000 dustbins at strategic locations across the city to encourage proper waste disposal, particularly at busy areas, with a dedicated task force to ensure compliance. The Metropolitan Chief Executive, Mr. Agyemang Boadi, said effective Monday, April 13, individuals caught dumping refuse, littering, or violating sanitation bylaws will be arraigned before the Kumasi Sanitation Court to face either fines or jail terms.
It will constitute a criminal activity which will attract sanctions from anybody in Kumasi to dump any form of waste, any form of refuse in any runabout, be it the Otumfuo runabout, the MTN runabout, or the Children's Hospital runabout. Beyond that, it will also constitute a criminal activity by anybody to dump refuse in the median of any dual carriage road within the Central Abidjan district and any part of Kumasi.
Mr. Agyemang Boadi said the Assembly is currently grappling with equipment breakdowns at the Oti landfill site, which has led to a buildup of waste in parts of the city, and this requires 6 million euros to ensure the effective operation of waste collection services. To assist enforcement, the KMA is encouraging residents to record people dumping refuse illegally. Informants whose reports lead to a successful prosecution will receive 50% of the fine imposed on the offenders.
You are watching News Hour here on GBC News, your news and governance channel. On GBC News Current Agenda, panelists were divided over the award of the Daman Gold Mine lease to engineers and planners. While some defended the decision, others described the backlash as politicized, citing businessman Ibrahim Mahamah's ties to President John Mahama. They emphasized the need for due process and called for an independent audit and full disclosure to ensure transparency.
For the government to inject confidence in Ghanaians to conclude that the process was free and fair, transparent, and was without undue influence, they must appoint an independent audit committee to audit the process. Yes, let's audit the report and the process conducted by the tender committee appointed by the minister. Let's have an independent committee to audit it.
In terms of managing an asset as a leaseholder, this is the first time EMP is going into that phase. But Hill Goldfields, as listed as part of the tenders, at the time it entered the bid, was a leaseholder of the Bogosu Prestia asset. So what are you telling us, if not a state capture?
In the case of Brian Acheampong was a sitting minister of state, a cabinet member, whose activities, whose company was engaged in a takeover of government institutions. Is Ibrahim Mahama a minister of state? Is he an appointee of the state government? So we must understand the principles. In relation to Damai, Ibrahim Mahama had been in Damai since 2002. And subsequently, 2002. And subsequently, 2016, his company, Engineers and Planners, became the operator of the mines. Then NDC was not in power. It was His Excellency President Kufuor who was the President of the Republic of Ghana.
Panelists also questioned the consistency and timing of the LGBTQ plus bill. Some argued it may be premature for the National Democratic Congress to shift its stance, urging Ghanaians to hold the party accountable. The New Patriotic Party also came under scrutiny over its handling of the bill while in government, with concerns raised about delays, missed signals, and whether sufficient political will was demonstrated to advance the legislation.
It will not be under the presidency of Nana Akufo-Addo, and that same-sex marriage will be legalized in Ghana.
A man's truest intention is not in words, it's in deeds. Okay. And I'm saying that the opportunity to justify the rhetoric was presented to the president to sign the bill into law.
It is too early for the NDC to be beating the U-turn on this anti-gay bill. Why? Because their posture when they were in opposition is different from what they are saying currently. They were pushing for the government to, for Parliament to expedite action on the bill, which the bill was passed on 28 February 2024, and then campaigning for the president to sign the bill.
The very people who were not interested in forcing the president to sign the bill into law have now found their voices in opposition and organizing press conferences. I don't know the thinking that went into the organization of the press.
President Mahama, when he met the clergy, indicated his commitment to supporting any bill that is brought before him. But however, suggested to the likes of the Honorable Sam George and the other MPs who were leading the private members' bill that his preference would have been for the bill to be a public bill. Why would he be proposing a public members' bill? But he proceeded to say that he will be hesitant in interfering with the private members' bill so that it will not send the wrong signals that he's trying to interfere with the processes of Parliament. So he would wait for the bill to be presented to him after the deliberations are through in Parliament. And even if there's the need for him to consult Council of State, he would do so.
Still on current agenda, panelists raised concerns about the powers of the Office of the Special Prosecutor following the release of former Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta from U.S. custody. A U.S.-based immigration lawyer, Benedicta Ajaman, suggested that Mr. Ofori-Atta may be seeking residency in the United States amid his ongoing legal challenges.
A lot of people do not know this, but the bond hearings are totally different from your removal proceedings. Let's say you are in court for XYZ, right, and you're being detained. You can ask for a bond to come out, but there's a separate hearing from whatever thing that you're already doing. So the information that has reached us says that he's applying for a green card. He's adjusting status based on being an immediate relative to a U.S. citizen. Immediate relative can be spouse, it can be parent, it can be child, right? That he has already filed. So he can continue with that process and this will not affect it.
Ghana and Burundi are deepening diplomatic ties through education as both countries move to strengthen cooperation in academic exchange, research, and capacity building.
Accra and Bujumbura are charting a new path in diplomacy, not through politics or trade, but through education. This evolving approach to diplomacy, rooted in learning and institutional partnerships, signals a shift in how nations build influence through ideas, innovation, and shared expertise. The partnership was formalized in Accra at a brief ceremony bringing together officials from both countries. The agreement links the Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration, GIMPA, and Burundi's École Nationale d'Administration with a shared commitment to training, capacity building, and academic exchange. The rector of GIMPA, Professor Samuel Bunsu, described the initiative as a bridge between the two nations, one that will promote mutual learning and strengthen institutional ties.
We had some interesting conversations about some of the things that should be guiding this relationship. How do we mobilize African leaders in order to be able to achieve some of the goals of various protocols that have been designed at the AU and at different levels. And for us, it is good to be mentoring others.
Members of the Burundian delegation also commended Ghana's leadership on the continent, highlighting its long-standing commitment to Pan-Africanism and the legacy of Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah.
We invite since Kwame Nkrumah. So for us, that's a pleasure to have this cooperation.
Beyond the formal signing, the ceremony also showcased Ghana's rich cultural heritage. Officials presented the traditional fugu smoke to their Burundian counterparts, a symbolic gesture of unity and cultural exchange. As the event drew to a close, one message stood out: diplomacy is evolving. In this case, it is being driven not only from government offices but from lecture halls, where collaboration, knowledge sharing, and cultural exchange are strengthening bonds across Africa.
The Chief Justice Paul Bafuboni is urging leaders to anchor their decisions in faith, discipline, and accountability. He made this call at the 2026 Regional Council meeting of Assemblies of God Ghana in Accra.
Being a leader, the Chief Justice says, is not defined by power, but by restraint. Addressing pastors and church leaders at the Regional Council meeting of the Assemblies of God Ghana at Shai Hills, Mr. Bafuboni emphasized that true leadership is tested in difficult moments when competing interests demand tough choices. He noted that while laws and institutions guide society, they must be supported by strong moral conviction and spiritual direction.
The church provides stability, not through force, but through the steady formation of men and women who live with principle and purpose. Let me therefore commend the leadership of the Assemblies of God Church, Ghana, especially the Greater Accra East region, for the faithful work you continue to do. The true impact of your ministry is seen in transformed lives, strengthened families, and communities built on godly values.
General Superintendent of Assemblies of God Ghana, Reverend Dr. Stephen Wingham, used the occasion to challenge believers to embrace what he described as audacious faith. He urged Christians, especially the youth, to move beyond limiting beliefs and pursue bold visions grounded in their trust in God.
We are saying that in this time, Christians are abandoning faith. When the little challenges we have, we give up. We want somebody to pray for you, somebody to have faith for you, hopping from place to place. We are saying that God is still in the business of working miracles. Build your faith on the scriptures, and then you will see wonders in your life.
At the event, it was announced that Ghana will host the Global Assemblies of God World Congress in October this year, the first time the event will be held in Africa. The event is expected to attract thousands of participants and contribute to both spiritual renewal and economic activity of the country.
The Ghana Institution of Surveyors has conferred honorary membership on Reverend Joyce Ayi and Dr. Yao Osei Educhum for their leadership roles in the country and outstanding contributions to national development.
The Governing Council of the Ghana Institution of Surveyors cited Reverend Joyce Ayi and Dr. Osei Educhum's exceptional leadership and achievements, noting that the conferment is a testament to their dedication to Ghana's development.
Accordingly, by virtue of the resolution of the Governing Council, in accordance with the governing instruments of the institution, the recipients are hereby admitted as honorary members of the Ghana Institution of Surveyors.
Dr. Yao Osei Educhum, a former Minister for Education, expressed gratitude for the honor. He said his background in land economy has informed his approach to education and national development, emphasizing the importance of community-driven governance and autonomous cities. The Ghanaian educationist highlighted the correlation between quality schools and property values.
Land economy degree gives me that insight into what you do to transform cities and communities in Ghana by entrusting those who live there with opportunity to govern and lead and run their own schools, run their police station, their electricity systems, their water system, create a more independent nation. And one day,
Reverend Joyce Ayi, who is also a former education minister and currently the executive director of the Salt and Light Ministries, also received the conferment as an honorary member of the Ghana Institution of Surveyors. She emphasized the divine nature of the surveying profession, making biblical references to land and boundaries. She urged surveyors to recognize their critical role in Ghana's development, particularly in managing land resources and promoting orderly land administration.
Be able to change the chaos in land administration. Nothing is easy, but that is what makes a human being. Resilience and the attitude that it can be done, because in God's wisdom, He chose.
The event attracted distinguished guests and past presidents.
Mountain. Due to the expanded format, the country's hosting it, and of course, the stars to parade at the biggest world sporting event. The Road to the World Cup show is here to answer all your questions about the qualification format, the rationale behind the expansion in participating countries, and all other information around the FIFA World Cup 2026. Catch the Road to the FIFA World Cup 2026 show live on GTV Sports Plus every Tuesday, Thursday and Friday at 8 p.m. Seasoned sports stakeholders and stars will be engaged to serve you the best FIFA World Cup details on the Road to the FIFA World Cup 2026 show. Remember, it's Tuesdays, Thursdays and Fridays at 8 p.m. Don't miss out. America, Canada and Mexico. Here we come. Brought to you by
Hisense. Everyday prices for everyday people. There's something more.
Missy, me brave papa.
Sisi yoko, enyo nko.
Oh, arai. For Mrs. Intimi.
Ko seche. The back mama mo adu na trash. The friend Angel Rock Bis. A Mrs. Yarepa, Mrs. Kan ho nan say, a drain ni dibuam.
Angel Rock Mixture.
E dina no abono. Me friend James Sami baba.
No bi na ma mi.
Angel Rock Mixture mo kutu box mo de kwai. Mo ko to ana.
Me de ko bo me ho bai.
Angel Rock Mixture. Mama Mrs. Ma do me for
Angel Rock Mixture.
Abutantim.
Angel Rock Mixture. Rock me.
Wo fa no na wo wan to wa. Ko hu doctor. Won ton man nipa won di fie du ngodwe. Ensese apemfo no. Ne oba wo ma akoda no fo. FDA agi adwade nkrato ya to.
Welcome back in business. President John Mahama has nominated public finance expert Pamela Graham for the position of Auditor General, subject to consultation with the Council of State. The nomination conveyed by the Secretary to the President is in line with Article 70, Clause 1B of the 1992 Constitution which requires the president to seek the council's advice before making a final appointment.
The move is part of broader efforts by the presidency to strengthen financial oversight and restore confidence in key governance institutions. Pamela Graham is expected to bring intensive experience in public financial management, auditing and institutional governance, along with a strong reputation for integrity and professionalism. The role of the Auditor General is central to Ghana's accountability framework, with responsibility for auditing public accounts and ensuring compliance with financial laws across state institutions. The Council of State is expected to consider the nomination in the coming days and advise the President accordingly. If confirmed, she will succeed Johnson Ekwuamu-Asiedu, who has served in the role since September 2021.
A group of women and youth in the Nsechi community have acquired skills in soap production through a free training program aimed at boosting self-employment in rural areas. The initiative was led by Hope for Africa in partnership with Asohum.
The trainees were introduced to practical methods of producing both bar and liquid soap. A report from the World Bank shows nearly 60% of young people in sub-Saharan Africa are either unemployed or engaged in vulnerable employment, particularly in rural areas where access to formal jobs is limited. The country director of Hope for Africa, Vicentia Kranting, says the initiative was driven by the need to address the growing vulnerability among women who lack stable sources of income.
We liaise with the assembly, and the assembly has various departments that work with the small-scale businesses. So by standardization, FDA works with them. So anytime the FDA or the standard boards are around, any new development that comes for small business skills to benefit, they are also going to benefit from that. So it's not going to be a one-off thing.
Head pastor of Nsanchi Assemblies of God, Henry Marshall Asari, encouraged beneficiaries to make full use of the training to improve their livelihoods. Some participants expressed appreciation to the organizers and said that the training has given them a new opportunity to start small businesses.
Oh, me pan if you say me shadani isanu ejuma me and tie me nije pan say obabesia isanu ejuma we am de papoye me ejuma.
I've got to learn how to do the liquid soap and after wash, and I'll put it as my work.
Ebeboa papa, ebeboa because about time there. Okay,
for as for this work, I think it's good. So I'll start improving myself on it so that I'll use it for my daily work.
The program is expected to promote entrepreneurship and improve household incomes among the women and youth in the Nsanchi and its surrounding communities.
The National Pensions Regulatory Authority says it's coming up with a pension digital ecosystem that will provide a platform for easy enrollment and payment of contributions for both formal and informal economy workers. The initiative seeks to increase coverage, especially in the informal sector, and extend pension coverage for all informal sector workers.
Even though this is a sign of good progression and improvement compared to the last few years, you will agree with me that more work needs to be done, considering the number of people in this sector who will be having nothing to depend on in their old age. The future of these people look bleak if we leave the system as it is currently. I'm happy to say that we have developed a policy document that focuses on designing a special purpose informal sector pension scheme with enormous incentive for targeted workers in the informal economy. We are also coming up with a pension digital ecosystem that will provide a digital platform for easy enrollment and payment of contributions for both formal and informal economy workers. We have made good progress and we will soon launch it to start its implementation. We are very optimistic that this initiative would increase coverage, especially in the informal sector, to achieve His Excellency the President's vision of extending pension coverage for all informal sector workers under the Moniyo pension scheme.
Welcome back. On the foreign front, the 4 astronauts who flew in NASA's Artemis mission around the moon have splashed down safely in the Pacific Ocean after a flawless return. The crew are now safely aboard a waiting ship and recovering from a 9-day voyage that took them further from Earth than any humans in history.
Their Orion spacecraft was traveling at more than 24,000 meters per hour when it hit the Earth's upper atmosphere, and its heat shield was subjected to temperatures half as hot as found on the surface of the sun. Their safe return clears the way for the next stage of the Artemis program, which aims to land humans on the lunar surface and eventually build a permanent base on the moon. The extreme heat meant the capsule, which the astronauts named Integrity, lost contact with mission control in Houston for 6 minutes during the descent. The astronauts, Weissman, pilot Victor Glover, mission specialist Christina Koch, and Canadian astronaut Jeremy Hansen were carefully extracted from the capsule and taken by helicopter to the USS John Murtha, where they will undergo medical evaluations. The Artemis program aims to step up moon exploration, land humans on the moon for the first time since 1972, set up a permanent lunar base, and aim for a crewed mission to Mars. The next flight, Artemis III, has been redesigned under NASA's new administrator Jared Isaacman to be an Earth orbital mission to test rendezvous and docking with the SpaceX and Blue Origin lunar landers, and is penciled in for mid-2027. The first actual moon landing, Artemis IV, is targeted for 2028, though there are doubts that this target is achievable.
Nearly 400 people have been convicted for links with militant Islamic groups following mass trials. More than 500 suspects were put on trial in the Federal High Court in the capital, Abuja, on charges of either taking part in attacks or supporting the militants through funding, supplying arms, or giving logistical support. The convicts were given sentences ranging from 5 years to life imprisonment after linked to Boko Haram or a rival splinter group, the Islamic State West Africa Province, ISWAP. The trials come at a time when the government of Nigeria is under intense pressure to keep rising insecurity in Africa's most populous state. Security forces are battling multiple armed groups, from militant Islamists to separatists, and kidnapping for ransom gangs. And Ismail Umar Guella has won election with 97.8% of the vote, keeping him at the helm of the strategically placed Horn of Africa for a 6th term.
President Ismail Omar Guella celebrated his victory at his home, saying it was a victory for the entire nation. The results were released by the Interior Ministry, but still need to be validated by judges on the Constitutional Council before President Guella can be sworn in for another 5-year term. His sole challenger, Mohamed Farah Samata, got 2.19% of the vote in a poll boycotted by most of the opposition. In power for 27 years, President Guella had promised to step down but ran for re-election after the constitution was amended in November to remove the upper age limit of 75 for presidential candidates. His campaign focused on the fact that he had maintained stability in Djibouti at a time when other regional states and the Middle East had been hit by conflict. President Guella is Djibouti's second president since it gained its independence from France in 1977.
Welcome to the sports segment. Champions of the Confederation of African Volleyball Zone 3 Club Championship, Calibre Ladies, have left Ghana to participate in the upcoming Kabi Women's African Volleyball Club Championship in Egypt. The championship is scheduled to kick off from April 13 to 23, 2026 in Cairo.
These are the gallant ladies of Calibre volleyball team on their way to Egypt to represent Ghana in the CAF B Women's African Volleyball Club Championship. The team is in high spirits ahead of the tournament, expressing confidence in their ability to compete at the highest level. President of Calibre Sporting Club, Mr. Bernard Morner, says he believes the team will make Ghana proud in Egypt.
We've been able to scale through the national boundaries, scale through the West African boundaries. And now we are the frontiers of African boundaries. We say that we conquer in all directions, but we also take inspiration from the fact that Ghana is the first country to obtain independence. And the fact that we are going to this stage, we are not going there as started.
The captain of the side, Abubakar Ajara, has assured Ghanaians of surprises in their maiden appearance at the prestigious competition.
They should expect nothing from us than a win. We are going to conquer everyone.
Head coach Rahman Mohammed is confident his side is ready to conquer Africa.
With the crop of players we have right now, I would say, inshallah, will bring a medal. We are going to make Ghana proud and the whole of West Africa proud.
The competition will end on April 23, 2026 in Cairo.
We shall tell our own stories, narrate our own details, watch the continent with our own spectacles and through our own lenses. We shall tell our stories better, the ups and downs, the pleasant and unpleasant without a slant. Stories from Africa, by Africans, told by Africans, understood by the world. All this and more within Africa on Tuesdays and Fridays at 4:05 p.m. on GBC News. Within Africa with Maltiti.
In entertainment, the Viva Easter Carnival 2026 in Ho was a major musical and cultural celebration powered by the Member of Parliament for Ho Central, Edem Potosu. The event was headlined by legendary rapper Aigbe Edem and was free to the public.
Being the maiden edition, the carnival attracted thousands of attendees and aimed to unearth local creative talents while boosting tourism in the Volta region. The event featured cultural performances by groups such as the Volta Heritage Dance Ensemble, as well as comedy, poetry, and fashion displays. More than 39 performers took to the stage, showcasing a bouquet of talents. The concert was held in Ho, also known as the Oxygen City, and was produced by Events 21 and Benny Woods. It was powered by the Member of Parliament for Ho Central, Mr. Edem Potosu. Local and emerging artists displayed talents and stagecraft to the admiration of the audience. The night was taken over by Aigbe Edem, who delivered an electrifying performance, thrilling the crowd with a blend of his classic hits and new songs. Edem Portosu sated that the carnival has come to stay and will be expanded in the coming years to discover and support more young talent in the area.
This is just the main edition. Every Easter it will be done. After this one, the young ones will see that there is an opportunity for them to express their talent so that they can be harnessed and groomed to better people in the future.
Event coordinator Elon Benny was surprised at the level of talent displayed and indicated that 2 outstanding performers would be recommended to the Member of Parliament for support. The Viva Easter Carnival is one of the initiatives to help reduce unemployment in the constituency.
This is how we wrap up News Hour. Thanks for your time. Good evening.
We shall tell our own stories, narrate our own details, watch the continent with our own spectacles and through our own lenses. We shall tell our stories better, the ups and downs, the pleasant and unpleasant without a slant. Stories from Africa, by Africans, told by Africans, understood by the world. All this and more within Africa on Tuesdays and Fridays at 4:05 p.m. on GBC News. Within Africa with Maltiti.
Military government is convinced that we must produce what we need. We must curtail our appetite for what we do not produce. To ensure this, we have directed all efforts at laying the basis for the emergence of indigenous capital and innovative ability. We have endeavored to increase the volume and value of our world trade. Nigeria wants to reduce its area of dependence on the factories of the industrialized economies. Nigeria wishes to bring its manufactured products to the world market. True enough, it is an interdependent world, but we in Nigeria today are over-dependent on other economies for non-vital and non-essential goods, which does not help our development.
Olusegun Obasanjo was born on March 5, 1937 in Abeokuta, Nigeria. Mr. Obasanjo is a Nigerian general, statesman and diplomat who was the first military ruler in Africa to hand over power to a civilian government.
Not intended to impose uniformity across the country in our local government setup, since by definition, local government must be local. In other words, we aim to standardize the functions and financial resources of local governments and therefore their effectiveness for development at local levels. Secondly, the federal military government's guidelines are not meant to be rigid and inflexible rules which must be implemented even where not appropriate. This is why in the proposals for new structures and patterns for local government, as wide a variety as will adequately cater for the diverse needs of our various communities have been prescribed.
He served as Nigeria's military ruler from 1976 to 1979 and as a civilian president from 1999 to 2007. Mr. Obasanjo attended Baptist Boys High School in Abeokuta in southwest Nigeria and later worked as a teacher. Unable to afford college, he joined the army in 1958 and received officer training in England. Chief Obasanjo rose quickly through the army ranks. During the Biafra conflict between 1967 and 1970, he was appointed to head a commando division that was stationed at the Biafran front in southeastern Nigeria. The conflict ended when Biafran forces surrendered to him in January 1970. In 1975, Brigadier General Murtala Ramat Mohammed ousted General Yakubu Gowon, the military head of state at the time, but announced that he would relinquish power to civilian rule by 1979. The following year, however, Brigadier General Mohammed was assassinated during an unsuccessful coup attempt and leadership passed to Obasanjo, his deputy. During the 3 years he headed the government, Chief Obasanjo emerged as an important African statesman and established ties with the United States.
And government of Nigeria, I would like to take this opportunity to welcome you to Nigeria and indeed to Africa on this historic visit. In the interest of peace and stability in Africa, in particular, and in the world in general, and for the mutual benefit of our two countries, contact and consultation between our countries, especially since your arrival in the White House, have been on the increase. We welcome this development. This visit will afford you, Mr. President and Mrs. Carter, and through you, the majority of American people, a closer understanding of Africa today and African aspirations. We believe that world economies are complementary.
Your Excellency, General Obasanjo, distinguished officials of the military government of Nigeria, and the people who are friends of the people of my country, the United States. It is a personal privilege for me to begin this first